the Mundelein Village Board meeting to order. This is number 3058. Would the clerk please take the attendance?
Abernathy?
Here.
Kim?
Here.
Meyer?
Here.
Semple?
Here.
Sullivan? Voss?
Here.
Great. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first on the agenda here would be approval of minutes. Need a motion for the village board meeting from August 12th. Motion by Voss, second by Kim. Do I have any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Voss?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next, motions for the approval of the committee of the whole minutes from June 10th.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Sullivan,
Second.
second by Abernathy. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Voss?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, at this point in the meeting when we can have any public commentary. Is there anyone here that would like to approach and say anything publicly? No? No? Sure, go ahead and approach, and you could please just say your name and address as well.
My name is Martin Wallace. I'm at 3690 Melody Street in Mundelein. That is in the Grand Dominion community. And I came here with several other residents today just to make a comment on the upcoming, in your minutes on website, it says you're going to approve the snow removal contract for the village streets, or at least the outsourcing of certain portions of that contract. We at Grand Dominion have talked about this, and for the past several years, we have had several issues with the village snow removal, and the fact that every time our contractors clean the streets, which by the way, we also clean the fire plugs and the post office boxes, the village streets then come by and plow it over again, and understandably so. There's really no way they cannot put the snow back on. Our issue comes in the fact that last year you were outsourced that contract to our snow removal contractor, who is the Acres Group, and is one of the largest, it's about the 5th largest snow removal company in the country. We were able, by working with them, to coordinate the removal of the driveway aprons the same time as they did, as the city came through, since they had their trucks on site. And they leave their equipment at our site, so it's always done quickly, and residents commented on how nice the snow removal was for the first time and so forth. So the issue is that we were able to coordinate that. Now I understand that we're going to outsource to someone who is not working with our people, and it will not be the same. We're not asking for the village to use our contractor for the whole village or anywhere else for that matter, only for Grand Dominion. We would like the bid to be broken down, or the new bid to be broken down by the 2 other communities you want to outsource, a metro station, and Grand Dominion is a separate issue, simply because it is a separate issue. Their equipment is left on site, their people report directly to our site. Everything's done efficiently, quickly, and we think inexpensively. Apparently they're willing to hold the last year's price, so the price was pretty good. We were told when both the mayor and Mr. Lebedo came to our community recently, we were told that the price had doubled. Turned out it had doubled, except that it also doubled the amount of work. So we have spoken with them, and they are willing to hold the price again to the same. There is a discrepancy on the salt, but I believe we could probably work out some type of arrangement whereby the salt discrepancy is fixed somehow. I don't know how, but if not, so be it. Anyway, our point is we want to break that down in a separate thing so that we get the same kind of service. We have a community of senior residents who are generally physically unable to go back and clean the driveways afterwards. It's hard, and it's snow, it's piled up, it freezes, it's by the next morning. We've made arrangements with our contractor, should we not be able to do both, to come back and clean it. However, that's going to cost every resident $3 a house every time they come back and do it. We figure if they come back 8 or 9 times a year, it's $25 to $30 a year extra. And our opinion, with a small community of something like 630 houses on the tax rolls now, 675 to be on, we're paying about 10% of the entire municipal budget for taxes. We don't think we should have to pay $25 or $30 a house extra just because we can't coordinate it. It seems to us it would be more than fair to do it that way. And it's a small community, it's an active community, it's an organized, educated community, currently in the process of putting together a political action committee so we can get more and more involved in municipal decisions and things of that nature. And we would just like our voice heard. It's as simple as that. So we would appreciate it if you will give our community a little extra thought before you make a decision. Okay?
Thank you. Anyone else? Sure.
Hi, my name is Carol O'Donnell. Technically, I don't live in Mundelein. I live in West Shore Park. But the issue that I wanted to bring to your attention has to do with my husband, Tom O'Donnell. And Tom had a stroke almost 2 years ago. He came home from RIC downtown in a wheelchair, and he's worked for almost 2 years in rehabilitation. And a typical week for us includes 2 trips to Elk Grove Village for physical and occupational therapy that he continues to be in. And he goes to physical therapy at Condell Center Club, where he's in an aquatherapy class 3 mornings a week. I think because he needs his independence and because he wants to give me a break from the taxi service that I've been giving him. He has gone through all of the testing for PACE bus service, and he passed. It was a real nice test to pass, I suppose, because he was supposed to get service. Unfortunately, because we live in Fremont Township, we don't have all the PACE bus service that is available to members of the Mundelein community. So what we do have Fremont Township bus service available to us, but it isn't on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when his class takes place. So we've been trying to work with PACE bus service to get a pickup for him. They won't pick him up at our house, so they will pick him up at a public area. And so one public area that we identified was Walgreens on the corner of Midlothian and 60 and 83. That's about 4 blocks from our home. Unfortunately, I don't want him to have to walk across 60 and 83. In working with PACE Bus, I asked them if we could get a pickup at Robert Lewandowski Park, which is about 2 blocks from our home, and they have refused to pick up at the park. I talked to Wendy, is it Whitaker, at the Village of Mundelein, and she gave me, she went into the contract that the village has with the PACE bus service, and PACE bus, just what she sent me for the the Village of Mundelein does have a contract for which it contributes funds for the PACE Dial Ride program for village residents. The service operates within an area to include the villages of Libertyville and Mundelein, the Mundelein Park District, and to any of the village township within 1/2 mile of the borders of the village of Libertyville. And it goes on. But so we thought Robert Lewandowski Park would be a good option for him to be able to walk to the park, get a pickup, go to the center club, and come back. But they've refused to do that because the park is in the Village of Mundelein, but the parking lot is not. They've suggested that if he could get to the other side of the park, that they would pick him up. The other side of the park is Diamond Lake. They said that there was a road that goes to that park, however, it's a dead end and it's up a hill. And in fact, probably turning the bus around at a dead-end road would probably be more dangerous than going around and parking the parking lot. So, the reason I've been given is that they have their rules, and if they break the rule for one person, they have to break it for all people. I'm a retired teacher, retired administrator. My last job was at Deerfield High School as an assistant principal. I believe in following rules. However, I believe in looking at individuals and looking at individual cases, and I think this is a case where the village has a contract with Pace Bus Service and it's not being fulfilled. I was a teacher at Carl Sandburg for 13 years, Mundelein High School for 10 years. I really feel like I'm a resident of Mundelein, even though I'm 2 blocks into Fremont Township. So I was just wondering if there was anything anyone could do from the village standpoint, or if not, I thought you should be aware that they're really being very technical with your contract. I don't know if there was anything else.
You've reached out to Ms. Whitaker that's in our administration office, so does she have your contact information?
She does, and she has contacted Pace Bus Service, as have I, and she hasn't been able to get them to change their mind. She too was told that if they changed their rule for one person, they would have to change it for everyone.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry. I don't know where you live in West Shore Park, but at the corner of Pershing and Hillside, there's a park, and some of these are homes in our subdivision. Sort of, there's sometimes a pathway between there, and are you close enough that he can?
We probably are. We would have to cut through that yard and around that lake that's there across the street on the other side of Hillside.
You might want to talk to those neighbors and see if they wouldn't mind,
Okay.
and that would be an easy fix. And the other place that there's a cut through is Beckett's Crossing.
Okay.
On Martin, it's
Right.
actually it's asphalt cut through there onto
Okay.
Martin.
Okay, I'll check that too. Thank you.
Ma'am, have you tried Fremont Township and calling Diana O'Kelly?
I have.
Because they're part of this program too, I believe. Not?
They do offer, there's some kind of a project, demonstration project service, but that only runs on Tuesday and Thursday, and his physical therapy is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. There's also a taxi service where you can buy a coupon booklet for half-price taxi fare. So that's another option. I just think that this is just, I just wanted to bring it to your attention more than anything.
Well, if we have your contact information, we'll make a phone call and see if we can't get other people involved.
And the person that Wendy and I talked to, I believe, was Sally Ann Williams, and she's with the paratransit services.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Public commentary? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question though. I mean, if we're looking at that situation and what happens in inclement weather, I mean, are we looking at it in totality for whether the weather's good or whether the weather's bad? Because that might make a difference on being able to walk to a park.
You know, I don't know any of the details yet, so.
There's nothing. I even asked if rather than Walgreens, they could pick up a Dunkin' Donuts so that I could drop him off there so he could sit and wait. And Walgreens is within their region, but Dunkin' Donuts isn't, even though it's 3 doors down. And they just refused.
We can call and see what we can work out. If we can call the director, but the program's established on boundaries, and the agreement, our agreement, is directly with PACE, and we have the same service agreement as Libertyville and Libertyville Township, but Fremont Township's not part of that. And the service for PACE Dial-A-Ride is very inconsistent across the county. The counties have special meetings now to try and expand the similar arrangement we have with our residents and Libertyville and Libertyville Township to other parts of the county, but and using our service as kind of a model. We're just really lucky to have that, but if you fall outside of that boundary, the service is not as good. But we can see if there's some way we can finagle the boundary situation. So I would be glad to call and see if there's something we can work out. But I know it'll have to comply with the overall boundary of our dial-a-ride map.
Okay. No one else? Okay, we'll close the floor. That takes us to presentation and awards. There are none this evening. Public hearings, there are none. That brings me to the mayor's report. And before we get to the items of business, you know, once a year we come to the time when football season starts. And this Friday is an important night because we're going to have two stadiums full at the same time. Carmel opens up with Lincoln Way East coming here, and they're ranked 10th in the state. Mundelein opens up against Wheeling here at home. And so that's a big night this Friday. And then right on Saturday, we have youth football starting, and Sunday is against Wakanda here at home up at Beam Field. So Friday night's a big night for that. On to the business motion. Let's see, the first thing is Exhibit 3 in the mayor's report. This concerns old number 1, the fire engine. I need a motion to pass an ordinance establishing the Village of Mundelein Old Number 1 Fire Truck Preservation Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Semple, second by Abernathy. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Semple?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Voss?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Great, motion carries. Next, we go to a motion. I need a motion to appoint 2 trustees to the Orchard Meadows negotiating team. Now, let me tell you who they are first, and then you can go ahead and... what we're going to do for this, for the Orchard Meadows, we have Trustee Voss, and then also Trustee Abernathy. Correct? All right, very good. All right, so can I have a motion to appoint those 2?
So moved.
Motion by Kim,
I'll second that motion.
second by Sullivan. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Kim?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Voss?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next, item C, this is Exhibit 5, a motion to authorize the village administrator to sign letter of direction for RFI 29 utilizing option D and option H.
So moved.
Motion by Semple,
Second.
second by Meyer. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Trustee Sullivan.
In regard to this, anybody out there wondering what this is about? The Village Hall has considerable parking, and we are considering with this motion the installation of potential electrical charging stations for automobiles. In that regard, have we gotten far enough? I know we talked about this. We talked a little bit about these won't be reserved spots for electrical powered vehicles. Anybody can park in them, but if you happen to have a battery powered car, you have the opportunity to charge the car at that position.
And my understanding is, right, well, yeah, what we want to do is lay the conduit down
Yeah.
for the day in
but
the future
I'm
when
talking
that
about
would
when
be
this
determined.
finally works out and we got a plug sitting there. Who can park there? Anybody? Have we talked about that? We got a lot of
I-
spots, I mean.
Right. I have to defer that. I hadn't thought that far ahead. I don't know if, Mr. Schupkegel, if you,
Well, I think we kind of thought we are looking for right now, is not the most popular yet. But the cores are about 14, 16 feet long from the charging station. So you might be able to reach the top next to the actual charging station as well. So they park right adjacent to it.
There'll be no designated parking. There will be plugs. And you say the cord belongs to the car, but
You know, along the charging station.
charging station.
The ones we look at so far.
Okay. What are we gonna, have we talked about these, somebody pays us for that power?
That's an option.
Well, it's not gonna be an option. Yeah. Well, have we thought about that? I mean, is that something that, is there one of these on the ground somewhere?
I don't know the cost of it. You have to pay the method
Mhm.
for that, so take some data wiring as well. We're all planning for roughing, but we haven't really selected the unit yet.
Well, making the strong assumption that there's going to be a way of charging for this, what will the equipment to collect the fee amount to? How much will that cost? Do we have any idea?
I don't know.
we haven't looked into those details yet.
Is there anyone who's got one of these working right now? Somewhere?
It was just in the paper last week that Denver Airport is putting them in. It's actually a Waukegan company that is donating these electric hookups for cars. But I think one of the issues is there's no universal standard yet. Each manufacturer has their own gizmo for
socket?
hooking up to. Yeah. So until it becomes standardized, I think we're probably doing the best thing by getting ready for it in the
Right.
future when it becomes standardized.
So we're looking at option D, which will be an install electrical conduit and wire. No plug?
For these two stations, just be roughing with that junction box, they kind of going back to the building, the full wiring, gate cable, and all for that. The rest of the system is all complete, outlets, GFIs.
And the power service to the building doesn't have to be upgraded, and it's large enough to deal with that. And then the second is option H, which is install receptacles. There's no standard receptacle?
No, this is actual housing, you picked up the landscape island, that outlet sitting up there, this is like a finished trim over it. The
Mhm.
weather could cover the east coast, so it's a little more attractive than just an outlet sitting in the landscape, but.
Unrelated to the,
I thought the long cord.
unrelated to the
Receptacle,
electric
we have
charging
long cord.
station.
Sorry, this is for means receptacles, not charging station.
Oh, okay.
There's two things going on. There's electrical convenience outlets, if you will, being provided to the islands in the parking lot, on the front of the building, at certain areas in the tree planting areas. And in addition to that, we're providing electrical conduit and a junction box for the future installation of electric car charging stations. So there's a lot of work going on aside from just the charging station.
Well, there's no doubt this has a lot of merit. And this expense is substantial, $52,000 plus. There's gonna be more expense than that if we can put this into service.
Yes.
But we don't know what that expense will be.
Right. Or when. I mean, it might be 5 years, it might be 10 years. Gas goes up to $6 a gallon, I imagine it'd be a little bit quicker.
But if, the only way it doesn't cost a lot is if we don't do anything, so.
Right.
And the cheapest option is not that much less than we're deciding.
Right.
Well, I guess I can support this. I wish we knew more about what the eventual costs would be and just what the logistics of the whole parking lot would be if it were put into service.
Yeah, I think when I looked at this, I think the option, as you said, of not putting it in today, if you were to take that out of the equation, it would have a nominal impact on the overall cost. But then if you decided 5 years then to put it in, that cost would be very high because of all the improvements that would have been put in place, the parking lot, the sidewalks, all that stuff that would then be in the way.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay.
I just had a couple.
Oh, go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
if I could just make a couple of comments unrelated to that. I've provided the board a summary of the kind of the ups and downs through the project so far, and there's a slight correction to the bottom line number, and this relates to the amount of contingency money in the building fund, if you will. Right now, it shows that we've dipped into that a little over 125,000, but there are two items on page 2. One item number 33 and item number 37, which comes to a total amount of about 23,000. We've decided not to do that. The Archer Avenue item was a temporary fix, and we're actually suggesting that we do Archer Avenue, and that's later on in the agenda. And then we've opted out of the sidewalk on the site there. And so we actually have dipped into it just over $100,000 of the $500,000 that's in contingency. And lastly, I'd report there is a little bit of good news through much effort of Mr. Flynn and others. We were successful in getting a $75,000 lead grant for the commissioning. And so that's great news. And that was an expense to the project that we will no longer have.
That's right. Okay, I'm sorry, I did not introduce this. I just went right into the option D and H without explaining exactly what we were doing. So this pertains, before I call the motion, this pertains to the Village Hall and the laying of conduit in preparation for electric car charging stations one day down the road. If these things get more and more popular and these charging stations get in more demand, to install them, if you don't have conduit laid underground ready to go and you have to carve up the ground and it just costs a ton more money than if we do it right now while we're building Village Hall. It's the perfect time to jump in and save a lot of money in the long run should these things become extremely popular. So that's what we're anticipating, and we're just, going to move forward with this, and should they become popular, we'll end up saving quite a bit in the long run here. So, clerk, please call the roll on this.
Semple,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes?
Boss,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
All right, that brings me to item D. Motion carries, by the way. Brings me to item D. This is an award, and it's a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting by the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada for comprehensive annual financial reporting, CAFR. And the certificate of achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a government and its management. And this has been awarded to us, and really tremendous credit, of course, goes to our finance department in particular, and I want to give this award to Doug Haywood. So if you could come on up and receive some applause, please, okay? Nice going, Mr. Haywood. I don't have no other reports at this time. That'll bring me to the trustee reports. Public Works, this would be Trustee Meyer.
Yes, there's one item tonight, and that would be the snow removal services contract, exhibit Public Works -1. Now, it's not listed on the agenda as a motion, and do we want to have further discussion on this?
Yes. Take it from here. Okay.
You know, I think the gentleman that spoke earlier at the public comment period, I think, expressed some of the concerns that the residents in Del Webb have. That, the reason we put it on the agenda for discussion tonight is a couple of reasons. One, we did just get 2 bidders on the bid packet when we put the bid out on the street. And so that has maybe caused some concern. And we did get higher pricing, and we had some concern on whether or not to, if it was a result of the way the scope of services was laid out in the bid. As was mentioned earlier, you know, we have areas, I think the board in the last couple of years has expressed a desire to move forward with some contracted snow plowing services. And we started in the Del Webb community because that made the most sense. It was kind of the western part of the community. And this year we've expanded to some other areas of the community, namely southeast off of Butterfield Road and some areas there. And so we packaged this up as one bid proposal and put it out on the street, and we were I think a little surprised at the pricing we got, and so we thought about that and whether or not we should consider rejecting all bids because of the way it's put together, perhaps having the same contractor move their equipment or bring additional resources into the community to service the area at the southeast end of town while they're servicing areas west part of town. You know, we wondered if that had some effect on the pricing that we got. And so, although from an administration standpoint, it's easier to manage one contract, we wonder whether or not breaking this into 3 contracts didn't make some sense. Administratively, it's more of a burden, but it works well for us from an administration standpoint to have one contract, but the market might be telling us that we didn't do it right. You know, the market might be saying that if you'd put this together differently, maybe you'd have different results. So we've just kind of been kicking that around, and then we certainly were aware of some of the conflicts that occurred in the Del Webb community prior to last year with our own crews. You know, we push the snow in their driveway and they push it out in the street and so on and so forth. And the last one there wins, I guess. But it was very frustrating not only for the residents of Del Webb, but it was also very frustrating for our work crew as well. You know, there was a constant battle with that. And so I guess, you know, we just want to hear from the board if they've got any thoughts on that. There is an option. I had Mr. Marino review the contract that we currently have with Acres Group, and it does appear that we can extend that contract 1 additional year if that's something that the board wants to do. I'll let Mr. Marino speak to how we go about doing that. But whatever action we take, we're not asking for the board to take action tonight. We simply wanted to discuss it with the board, and that we bring this back on September 9th for a formal action by the board. So we just want to hear what your thoughts are on it, and if you've got strong feelings one way or the other.
Trustee Semple?
Hey, John, this seems like an easy one to extend it another year and then bid out the other area, see how it works out. And who knows, maybe the contractor after this year will extend it another year. If they keep all those residents happy, we're not plowing it, I think life is pretty good.
The one caveat there is they aren't willing to extend the the salting portion, de-icing services.
They are not?
They are not. They're only willing to extend their plowing services portion of that contract. So we would still have to be in there to do the salting or de-icing.
Can they use our salt to salt?
They did.
Do we know why?
I haven't,
Can I answer from the balcony? They claim that the issue is that their equipment being left on site at Grand Dominion, which is at the West End Association, does not have to come all the way back into town. But really what they want is an adjustment for the hourly driving back and forth. Apparently it takes them a half an hour to get here and half an hour to get back and load it up. So they say they lose an hour every time. But they are willing, however, we spoke to them, they are willing to, I won't say not extend, they're willing to renegotiate and discuss alternative options for doing it, different pricing or different ways of storing salt or holding salt, doing something.
Now, would we get into trouble negotiating that when we've done the bids already and someone else has the low bid and has rights then?
Well, the first action you're going to consider is whether or not to reject all bids before you can that would come up until next meeting. That motion could be put forward and if the decision is to reject all bids, but you first take action on whether or not to reject all bids.
Can we reject a portion of the bid and keep a portion of the bid?
No.
So we can't keep the portion that was bid on Metro and reject what was bid on Bel Air?
Trustee Sullivan?
I know that sometimes our trucks will just salt, they won't have a plow down. But when they are pushing snow, they're salting at the same time. How does this bid work in that regard?
that is for a full-scale salting and plowing. So if we get an event with, in terms of this contract, that exceeds 1 inch or greater, and they need to do one pass through the route, if we were including Metra, that's a $4,308 service through Acres. Midwest Snow Solutions' total bid on that is $2,810. So there's roughly, almost exactly a $1,500 discrepancy per plow event for Metra and then the other contractuals.
Okay, now, the reason that we did this contractually was to make it so much more effective for the residents when their driveways are being plowed and their streets are being plowed by the same company, or by the same organization, and it's not gonna be the village on the private aprons. But aren't we back in the fire in that regard? If two different companies, Acres doing the private driveways and some other company doing the streets?
You're in that situation in Woodhaven and Lakewood then with Acres just as much. They aren't the contractor in either of those subdivisions, so you have that same situation there. Eventually, with any contractual service in this type of service, you're going to run into that situation where the contractor that the village is using for the right-of-way isn't going to be the preferred contractor for the property owners association. We will need to manage that, and with this contract we have in front of us today, it's no different. Woodhaven and Lakewood both do not utilize Acres for their snow removal services right now.
Is it possible to bid both the driveways and the streets?
We don't provide that service for the
Just have them
driveways.
split it up. Here's the amount that it's gonna cost for the driveways.
We don't do driveways now.
Associations pay for that, and the village pay for the streets.
We could work with the associations on their level of interest with something like that. We can talk to them.
Is there a, do we have to accept or reject these by a certain time frame?
We'd like to. Obviously, the closer we get to winter, the more difficult it becomes for us to obtain a contractor.
Can I rephrase this? If we said, you know, let's take a couple of weeks and explore some other options, if this offers this bids still out there for 2 months?
Yes.
It seems that perhaps there might be some further discussions that should go on.
If the salting is an issue, is there a place that salt could be stored on site so that they wouldn't have to spend that extra hour going back and forth to a village site? Is that an option?
I don't believe there's anywhere on the Grand Dominion property that is covered that we could place salt. We do not want to leave salt exposed. That opens us up to some stormwater management issues there.
Ms. Baskey? So then I'm hearing that we're going to defer any action until the next meeting?
Well,
More of a consensus.
yeah, we'd like to make a decision on the 9th, and, Mayor Lentz and I have discussed it, and Adam and I have discussed it, and I think there are situations where it makes sense to get proposals and negotiate, and not always just go to bid and then accept a low bid. This may be one of those times. It's not that we don't get competitive pricing, but there are some unique things that go on that require some negotiation and discussion, to get the best service possible. So if you were to ask me what my advice would be, I think tonight I would say that I'd move in the direction of rejecting bids and moving forward from there and rethinking how we do this maybe for next year.
Well, can we do that tonight, or Charlie had
No.
mentioned the next meeting rejecting bids?
It's not an agenda.
Okay, that's what I thought. Now, would we be looking at possibly a separate contract then for Woodhaven and Lakewood?
I don't know what we would, right now, tonight I would say to you, no. I would probably want to rethink how we go about doing this next year. I think I might be inclined, without any further discussions, and I didn't have an opportunity to talk to Mr. Boucher today, but last I talked, I think, was Friday. So I would say that tonight I would advise the board to, stick with what we had last year and see if we can, reject bids and rethink how to do other areas. Maybe we don't go into those areas. Maybe we do something else. I mean, I'm not sure.
Well, I'm sorry, but didn't you say that that they're not willing to ice? So if we just go with last year's contract and they're not willing to fulfill the icing portion, then what do we do? So I'm not willing to reject these offers until I have a better understanding of how that's going to play out. So I do think that we need more information. I understand that what Trustee Sullivan said, if we go with the firm that's much less expensive in Del Webb, if not everywhere, we're going to end up with the same problem that we were trying to avoid, which is we plow, they plow, we plow, they plow. So I don't feel like this information gives us a resolution to that going either way. And as a board member, I feel like I need more information before I can make that determination.
Mr. Boucher, is there a solution for the salt situation?
What information would you like to have us obtain?
Well, I'd like to know what we're going to do about salting. And if our trucks have to go out and salt
We will.
after they plow, how is that cost effective?
It's not.
Okay, so then I'd like to know what other alternative we're gonna have, and if the other company is willing to salt, then is there something that, you know, how do we resolve the end of the driveway issue if we can for them, cognizant of the fact that we don't resolve it anywhere else in our community, and there are lots of neighbors, whether they are older or younger with small children, who complain about the very same thing. So if we're not going to be able to resolve it, then shouldn't we go with the lowest bidder who can manage this? So I guess I just don't have that information clearly from this little blurb that we have here.
I think you have it. That sounded like you have it. It's exactly the
Well,
issue
then,
to deal with.
in the case that I have it, I don't see any point of why we would reject the lowest responsive bidder who can plow and salt for a bidder who is only willing to do half of that, simply because, I apologize, but because a portion of that community feels that they are better served when it would be twice as expensive for us as a community to do it in that manner, much less that the other communities are not served. Yeah, this isn't making a lot of sense to me why we would reject these bids then.
Didn't they say that it's possible to extend the contract another year? But isn't that original contract, doesn't that include the salting?
Well, that would be one of the questions I would ask.
They aren't willing to. Last year, the de-icing services was bid as an alternate. They aren't willing to extend the alternate portion of that contract.
All right, so it's broken up into two pieces. It's not
Yes.
one contract for both services.
Correct.
Okay, so they're only willing to extend half of the contract, but not the other half.
They're only willing to extend the snow removal portion of the contract, the de-icing services or the salting services. They are not willing to extend at the price they provided us with last year.
Let me throw out this suggestion and see if this is okay. Could we try and have staff negotiate with Acres for this salt portion of the, extending the contract, and if they're unable to adequately negotiate a solution here, then we go with the lowest bid. And we
I'm
come
sorry,
back.
legally, can we
Yeah,
negotiate?
that's what I'm asking.
No.
Okay. Can't do that.
You have to decide whether you're going to reject the bids or not. Then you can negotiate. You can't circumvent the bidding process until you reject the bids.
Are there other bidders out there that,
Just two, we only had two respond.
I have a question.
Trustee Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would we be able to do, well, first of all, we only want to choose one vendor because it's harder on the administration and the staff? Or?
No, that's what we did. I'm not saying that was a good decision. It was a decision we made that we would package this all up, because presumably the more work there is, the better the pricing. But the market's telling us maybe something else.
Okay.
Once we got bids.
So since the bid is, well, huge difference, there is a possibility could we say, like, right at the, and I'm just speculating here, right at the driveway of Grand Dominion, we'll stop there as the village, but Acres Group has that. And we were planning to give, this much for those streets anyway here, Grand Dominion, sort it out yourselves. Is that, I'm just,
yeah, I
If
don't
that
think
isn't out of-
I'd feel really comfortable with that. Then you're gonna have some private person plowing a public street without a contract to be doing so. And again, if they're not gonna salt it, then the only streets in Mundelein that wouldn't be salted would be Grand Dominion, which I'm also not comfortable with. So, unless you wanna let the guy from Grand Dominion speak and give us more information, at this point I'm not happy with these alternatives.
but at the same time, it'd be probably more effective to have someone from Acres Group speak more than,
Well, I got it, but they're not here.
yeah.
Do you have additional information?
I don't know if it's additional, I think it's the same information, just possibly misconstrued. There isn't any question that they're willing to salt. They will salt. They want to salt. They don't necessarily want to salt at the prices you want to pay. They're not refusing. So if the bids were rejected, then you would be open to renegotiate. Whether they would do that, I don't know. They are not here. Last minute thing, they didn't have an opportunity to bring them here, but we have spoken to them on the phone. They are willing to talk about it. They do want the business, and they would like to talk about it. Now, whether that's legally possible or not is another issue. If you rejected the bid, or at least rejected the bid, you can't break it separately, I suppose all. I am not an attorney, you are. But all we're asking for today is a reevaluation, which means we have to reject what it is, reevaluate what it is, and then come back and make any decision we think is the best interest of the village.
Yeah, except that if we reject these bids, then we can't turn around and accept a bid that is no longer there because we rejected it, correct?
Well, what you would do, if you couldn't negotiate a satisfactory resolution, you could always rebid it.
But there's nothing to say that if we rebid it, we would get the same bidder or the same price. So we could reject it. They could say, you know what, you cost us money, and we're going to raise the price on you because we weren't able to come to terms with what is Del Webb's preferred vendor. Do I have that right?
Well, you don't know. There might be a third or fourth bidder out there that would suddenly come in and do it.
Right.
We do have a big fleet of trucks. Push comes to shove.
Push comes to shove, and we'll do it in-house.
Well,
So,
okay,
you know,
but then we're back
go
to
ahead,
the
tempt us.
driveway issue that we've been trying to avoid.
Does Acres salt your driveway and your apron?
No, they salt our parking lots. Driveways are individual. If people want them salted, they will do that. But normally, no. It's not part of our master contract. But they do salt, they bring salt on premises and they salt the parking lots and the public areas.
Yeah, you
So
didn't
should we
get
go
to-
around the room and, I mean, we're in a quandary here, and that if we, like Trustee Voss, you just said it, I mean, I think we have the scenario right. Could we just go around and see if we have a consensus? Should we reject the bids? Okay, that's number one. If we reject the bids, and then we negotiate with the preferred vendor for the salt and hope things turn out, or we go with the lowest bid.
Well, what
Okay.
you're asking is what they'll consider in 2 weeks. You're not asking
Okay,
for
right,
a
right.
decision.
Right.
You're just asking for their thoughts as to what they might be inclined to do in 2 weeks when the matter is officially before them.
Okay. So Penny, for your thoughts. Mr. Meyer?
At this point, I really don't have an answer. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do and which way I wanna go in 2 weeks because I'm not sure I really have all the information. Or enough time to digest the information that we heard.
Okay.
I would be inclined to go with our low bidder.
I'm inclined to agree with Trustee Meyer. I think that I could make a compelling case for any one of the three. Going with low bidder is most responsible with village finances. Rejecting and trying to work out a deal with the preferred vendor makes sense, except if it doesn't work and we have to rebid, then we could be, yeah. So I think that we need to use, I think that maybe bringing this forward was a little bit premature, and maybe we can collect a little bit more information.
Trustee Kim?
When I first received this packet, I was really surprised by the price difference between the two. So even before hearing any testimony from Del Webb, I was hoping it could be rejected and sent out to rebid with hopefully more vendors.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yeah, I would reject both these bids. And I think everyone needs to understand why we have a private contractor in the first place. We did it to have the contractor, Acres, be the same one that was doing the private portion of the development, so that we wouldn't have this turmoil. Plowing driveways closed and coming back. If we reject the bids, and we sit down with Acres and renegotiate the salting price, if we can't do that effectively, I don't want somebody in there battling, I don't want two private companies in there battling each other. Now you're gonna really, because the calls are gonna come to us. We don't want that. We may as well do it ourselves. We'll go out there and do the streets with our equipment.
What's the price difference between doing it ourselves versus hiring a private contractor?
Isn't that, I really thought that it was a price, it was more cost-effective to have a private
Yes.
company do those, especially those cul-de-sacs. That's why I thought that we did this, not to have a duplicate battle. And as long as we were gonna do that, then it made more sense to go with one contractor out there.
My feeling is that we'll negotiate a salting price with Acres that we'll find to be acceptable. Reject the bids and start over negotiating with Acres.
Trustee Semple?
I got another question. Is Acres locked in with Grand Dominion?
Well,
Are they the best?
That's a good point. What if, what if the low bidder, is Acres locked in for this year?
Locked in for this year, yeah. We have a fixed price contract, snow or no snow.
Now the plot thickens then, you know.
No, so they're locked in.
Yeah, okay. Next year, we need to get together before.
We tried to do that for the last several years. It's definitely something that's been on our agenda for a very long time. And one of the reasons we were so pleased this year when we were able to work it out with Acres. We spent several years prior to this working at it. We thought we had it solved last year, apparently not.
Okay.
But salting's like 1/3 of the equation. It's a big chunk.
There's three at my counters, there's three trustees that said reject.
Yeah, I would favor rejecting, going for it, and then doing it ourselves if we can. Come to an agreement. So, but between now and then, I'm sure that the next packet you see will have more information. So,
Good.
about it further. Okay.
Is there any additional information you would like to see specifically regarding the bids? Or- and I
I'd like
understand
to
there's a
know
lot.
who the other portions, who's their private contractor. I'd like to know.
They have separate ones. We've reached out to both of those contractors and asked them about their services in those communities as well. We've also asked the property owners associations in each of those communities. Lakewood was not very happy with their contractor, and they're most likely going back out to bid this year on that particular subdivision. So that could be up in the air right now.
So, much the reason that we have grouped is that we have found if you have a preferred vendor, you can get a better pricing. Can we have a preferred plow vendor?
I defer to the village attorney on that.
Refuse hauling is treated specially in the state, and you're permitted to do or drill with a single haul. There is no
That's-
possible provision in statutes with respect to snow.
Okay.
Um,
Yes, Trustee
in-
Abernathy.
In information, what I'd like to know is approximately how much would it be for us to do the same job in-house?
Based on our calculations right now, the average winter would have cost us with the low bidder on this particular contract, $38,500. The Acres proposal would have cost us $59,000. In-house, we're at about just under $47,000.
I got another question for Adam. Do we have any property out west that's appropriate for another remote storage, salt storage bin? Because presumably, we could operate better if we had a salt bin, because we wouldn't have to be running back to the Public Works complex every time and all the time we're spending commuting. I can't think of a spot, or is there a vacant commercial
Winchester
spot
would have been
we
the
lease,
pump
or-
station, but I don't think we have any available space there any longer. That's been much used up. I can look at that, investigate that a little further. There's a pretty big capital cost for a salt dome to be placed on any site, so there's that component to add to the mix as well.
Now, when they drive to our complex, are our guys loading up their?
Yes.
Okay. So their energy is, or their time and money is their guys driving, their people driving their trucks over, waiting for us to load them,
Yes.
and then scooting back over.
And the only reason we had to do that was because we had to pay about 4 or 5 times the amount that we pay for salt if we were to utilize their salt. No changes in the services other than them providing their own salt to bring to the site. It was about between 4 and 5 times the cost.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Sullivan?
I think Country Bumpkin, not wrong, has, I don't know how big it is, but they have a salt storage yard. At the corner of Gilmer and Hawley. If there's any, if we want to get involved with a private salt storage facility,
Well, I kind
that's
of
right around the corner.
think that, you know, in terms of the future, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a salt storage bin out on our western edge, northern edge somewhere, assuming that we have further expansion or the help with streets out in that section. It seems like maybe that's something that we should be looking at, capital and all.
Okay. Okay, very good. Trustee Meyer, anything else?
No, that would be it for tonight, thank you.
Okay, very good. Next, Finance Committee, Trustee Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me turn the page here. This evening, we have a motion to approve the payment of bills as indicated on our bill list to AT&T invoices. This amount has been separated because I think we will have an abstention. But I will make the motion to pay AT&T invoices totaling $3,466.42.
Motion by Sullivan,
Second.
second by Abernathy. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Meyer,
Abstain.
Semple,
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Motion carries.
This evening on our omnibus list of motions, we have one to pay bills, the totaling $893,204.09. The predominant bill in this list is one to Weston Solutions for contractual services in the new Village Hall. This in the amount of $624,352.61. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sullivan. Next, Public Safety Committee, Trustee Semple.
Chief Gunther, anything from Police Department for public safety this evening?
Yes, sir. I have a couple of things. First, I'd like to, on August 13th, Deputy Chief Hansen coordinated a very large-scale drill at Mundelein High School that consisted of the entire MHS staff, over 180 teachers, along with some administrators from other various schools. It was an all-day training session with the topic of public safety being, or school safety, I should say, being the main theme, and broke those into 4 different training sessions, including emergency medical tactics for the teachers, run, hide, fight concept, a gang and drug presentation by our investigators and members of TAC unit and drug unit, and a cybercrime portion of it also. It was very, received a lot of positive comments on that. Next, we have on September 19th, we'll be running our first ever Latino Citizen Police Academy at the police department. So we are seeking some involvement with that. And on October 11th this year, we're going to be taking place in Operation Stand Down in combination with Mundelein High School. This is a partnership between the various police departments and their high schools. Grays Lake does this, Libertyville does it, Stevenson is doing it, Vernon Hills, Grant. The police department and the local high school pick a game, and they have a coat drive for veterans on that game. And our game will be October 11th against Stevenson. And those coats are collected throughout the fall season, and then there's a date later in the fall where we will present those coats to the veterans within Lake County. And anything not selected by the veteran or their family will be turned over to the Salvation Army for a in-kind donation back to the Veterans Association. And that's it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Any questions for Chief?
What kind of game?
Sorry, football game.
Thank you.
Home football.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
You said September 19th is the Latino Police Academy. Do you have people signed up for this?
Yes, we do have some that have signed up, and we're doing some advertisement at local churches, and we run some newspaper articles. I just wanted to get it out in case there was anybody that also interested. You can sign up at the police department.
Great.
Chief Sashko, Fire Department, anything?
A couple of brief announcements for the board and the community. September is National Preparedness Month, and it's part of the FEMAReady.gov program, and so we'll have some PSAs and a variety of different information available to the public and the board during that month, and we'll make some other announcements at the September meetings. The fire department open house and really village-wide open house with police and public works is on September 15th here at Station 1 from 10 until 1. We're being cognizant of the Bears game for scheduling, so I might miss the first quarter, but we're hoping everybody from the community will come out that day. It's a great day. Just a reminder that from an emergency management standpoint, we've had a pretty mild summer in the next few days, including today right now. It's pretty hot out, so encourage everybody to check on loved ones, especially the elderly in the community, and just make sure everybody's okay, because I think we're a little bit, set back right now on paying attention to hot weather since we haven't had much of that this summer. So, and then last but not least, just a technology piece. Something new broke in the market. We actually have wireless smoke detector systems that are available now. We're going to be getting some information on our website where you can replace the existing localized alarms, your battery-operated smoke detectors that are not hardwired within a building. Those are considered a localized alarm now because just that detector goes off. Basically called Bluetooth technology within smoke detector systems. Now you can buy a complete system for your house where they're all talking to each other. They all go off if one goes off, but it's all wireless technology. So we're going to get some more information out on that in the near future through the Fire Prevention Bureau. And that's it. Thank you.
Terrific. Any questions for the chief? Just a reminder that on September 9th, we do have a meeting call for public safety where Chief Sashko will be going over the recent ISO report and the ISO ratings. Anything else we're covering, Chief? Fantastic. So that's at 6 p.m. Next board meeting, September 9th. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. That's all.
Thank you, Trustee Semple. Thank you, Trustee Semple. Next, Trustee Voss, Community and Economic Development Committee.
Thank you. First thing is we have a few motions for the Baroque residents. This is a variance to allow for a fence on a quarter side yard. So first I'll make a motion to accept the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes and findings of fact.
Second.
Motion by Voss, second by Abernathy. Discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Voss.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Semple.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, I'll make a motion to accept the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation.
Motion by Voss,
Second.
second by Meyer. Discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Voss.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Semple,
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the staff to draft an ordinance granting a variation to section 20.52.040, parentheses F, parentheses 3A, triple I. Is it double I, triple I, sorry, wait, triple I, okay, of the Mundelein Municipal Code to allow a 5-foot closed-style board-on-board fence in the corner side yard for the Barakis residents at 1301 Shetland Drive with the condition that the fence be located to the west of the storm sewer pipe.
Motion by Voss,
I'll second.
second by Kim. Discussion?
Now, did they, according to the packet, they're going to build the fence over the sewer line at some point?
West.
No, it's west
West
of
of
it. Okay, so if they need to do any work, it won't affect the fence at all?
Who?
Well, the
We'd
Barakis
have
residents-
access to the actual structure at this point, which is what that's allowing, but if there's issues with that pipe, that fence is gonna have to come out.
And I believe that the homeowner has already been told that,
They're aware?
yes.
Yes, I know.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just want to make sure, so if that, I'm sorry, yes, Mayor. If there is an issue and that fence comes down, we're not responsible.
No, they recognize that it's easement, and so if we have to get in and do something, then we'll have to take their fence down, and it's on them to put it back.
Anyone else? Okay. You're good with that, right?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, very good.
Hold on, just so you know, it's being proposed on the opposite side of where the pipe is though. So the fence, if it was on the east side of the pipe, then it would be, the fence would then, have to get taken down to get access to it. If it's on the west side of the pipe, then, the fence wouldn't need to be taken down. to
Okay.
get access to it.
It's
Your
still
home
too
faces
close.
north, right?
Yes, my house faces north.
It's north.
Yeah.
There's the corner.
Okay, so Public Works is saying that there might still be an issue, even though it's on the west side, there
Yeah.
could still be an issue if that pipe needed to be replaced or some
All this
big
does
major thing.
is provide us access to that structure that's located in the corner. So we're able to maintain the system from the right-of-way versus coming in through that fence. But if that pipe were to need to be replaced or maintained in some fashion where we have to dig, that fence has to still be removed, given its
Okay.
proximity.
So we're hoping that doesn't happen, yes?
That fence is gonna go to the east of that sewer, correct? We're not getting it okay to be on the west side of that sewer, it's the east side of that sewer.
It says west on the
We
packet.
have no interest in putting that
Fence
fence
be
up on the
located to the
west
west of the storm sewer.
Ours says,
Ours says
Our packet
west.
says
It
west.
says west because that was staff's recommendation. But they want it on the east side.
We want
to
that east
clarify.
side, to stay consistent with our neighbors that are right behind us, that, I mean, for us, we have no interest in putting that thing. If I put it on the inside, the west side of the sewer, I'm moving that thing in, I don't know, 5 feet. It won't be consistent with my neighbor, and I hate to say they have a basketball court right there, I mean, it's just not gonna work. So, I
So-
mean, we understand it going on the east side, and if there's an issue with it, you guys have to get in, then we'll take the cost of having to move the fence or remove it, you guys get in, and then we'll have to, take the cost on it.
Adam, so if it's on the east side, can you still access that?
The west, wait.
He's
We're on the
saying he
east
wants it
now.
on the east side.
Is there a locking gate? Is there the problem is now that's an enclosed area that I don't have easy access to that storm sewer structure located in that south or southeast corner of his property.
Yeah, we'll put a gate, we'll have I think it's gonna be a 6-foot gate, so our landscapers can get in the backyard, so I mean, you guys wanna use that.
We'd prefer not to, but, I mean, if that's the board's direction, we can get in there. It's gonna be difficult with equipment, of course. I don't know how we'd access it we'd have to we'll come over the top of the fence, and then we have issues with
What kind of
potential damage.
equipment are we getting in there?
Vacuum truck,
How often do
Pretty-
we do that?
storm sewer system, we try and cycle every 4 years through the entire system, similar to sanitary.
I have lived there 18 years, I've never seen you guys in my backyard.
I've worked here too.
Pardon me?
I've worked here too.
Okay, I'm
So
just
this is,
saying,
these are new, these are new programs that I'm trying to
So
initiate.
here's what I don't understand, I understand, but my neighbor behind me, his fence is literally 2 inches off that sewer.
I don't like that either.
If
I mean,
something
so
was
I'm
done
just saying-
before, doesn't mean, you know.
Well, I understand, but he got a variance last year to put that fence in, he's 2 inches away. I'm gonna put my fence in, if I go east of that, I'm at least 3 feet away from that sewer. So I mean, access to get at it from my property would be a lot easier than access from his property. I mean, I'm gonna have, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, it would look ridiculous to put up a fence 4 or 5 feet inside my neighbor's fence behind me, running down their property line. It would look ridiculous. I mean, I'll take on the cost of, I mean, if there's an issue with the sewer, you guys have to come in, but I have no interest in putting that fence in on the west side of the sewer. So I think that's basically what we're talking about.
So,
One of the options that they were throwing out here, would you be open to leaving that corner area open and not fenced in at all?
So you're
Just the corner
talking-
area.
So you're talking about squaring in off of that and then coming
Yes.
back out?
As an option.
Again, I think it would look ridiculous. I'm really not interested in doing that in my yard. I just don't think it would look, I think it would look ridiculous.
I mean, we did that in my yard, it's not uncommon, so that you're not going over the storm sewer. Or someone else who didn't want to, they had to put in a gate in the back of there so that they could.
Well, I'm gonna have a gate in my backyard.
so the way this motion is written,
It goes to the west, and you want it to the east.
Yeah, I mean, that's how staff proposed the motion, but the board can change it, whatever they want.
Last year with his neighbor, what was the rationale then? Do we remember what happened there?
Made the same comments.
Huh? And then the board voted to grant the variance on the east side, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And, excuse me, is
That
the east
doesn't help.
side on the property line? Are we talking about?
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Putting it on your line? Yeah.
correct.
And this is a 10-foot easement, wide? Sewer sits on the center of the easement? Do we know?
Bear with me. I don't know if it's in the center. It looks to be pretty close.
The easement is a 10-foot.
So the vacuum truck parks out on the street, and you've got,
And the boom arm wouldn't be able to reach over the fence, but we have had that issue of maybe doing no damage to the fence when we reach that boom arm over to access it and
You have a dog?
Two. Little dog. I don't have fences.
well, why not? Well, Mr. Barecki understands that he's at risk for the fence. Whatever we have to do in the way of maintenance or reconstruction, that the fence is in the way, it's his fence.
Sign a waiver for that going in the easement, correct?
No, there's a waiver already.
It does seem like boxing out that little area would be a good solution. We wouldn't harm your fence then. It would be accessible for staff without taking undue time, without worrying about your dogs, without you worrying that our staff is going to go in, and if one of your dogs either gets out or bites someone, you're responsible. If you drive around town, you're going to see this happen. It's not uncommon, that little
Okay. I've
step.
never seen it, I have driven around town. I'll be more than happy to take on the risk of you guys having to go in there.
Mr. Boucher, can I ask a question?
Trustee Abernathy?
Mr. Boucher, this cleaning out the sewers, it's not a matter of if we have to go in, it's when we, because I think this is a new program you've instituted since you've been here for 2 years, that you do cycle all these sewers every, within the 5-year plan or 4-year plan. So when you said you've been here 18 years and you haven't seen it, this is something that has been instituted within the last 2 years. So it's not if we have to go on your property, it's when we will be going on your property.
Well, I have 2 sewers in my backyard, so how are you guys gonna get the other one? It's in the southwest corner, or the southwest.
Oh, I don't know how,
We don't, when we back it or when we jet rod, we just need access to that one structure. We can go hundreds of feet from that point. You don't need to go to every structure.
And I'm guessing that you work, and so that you're not home all day, every day, to have seen whether or not we had staff there. It's possible we've been there and you weren't aware. I'm just guessing. Mr. Barrera, was there something else you wanted to offer?
No, we would work with the petitioner, we would work with the property owner and put together an ordinance here and bring it back on the 9th for the board's consideration.
Okay, so that's all we're doing is authorizing staff
To prepare an ordinance.
So can we change the wording on this to that,
East?
that the fence be located, I don't know, in their yard and
To the
leave
east?
To the east, yes.
Do we change the word west to east? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I don't think it should be located necessarily to the east of the storm sewer pipe. We have to find out exactly where the pipe is. It's just that we would authorize staff to bring forth variation, the corner side yard at 1301 Shetland Drive, and at this point drop off the condition of where the fence is located, and I would instead maybe say with the location of the fence to be determined by resident and staff.
Sure. You can also remove the condition from the motion.
Okay, so we
Just
don't have to,
approval.
we can just remove the condition and you
That's
guys
an
can
option,
figure it
yes.
out. So then, can I amend my motion to remove the condition?
I'll second that.
Are we all understanding we just took out the condition and that gives them a couple of weeks to figure out where the fence can best be located? And maybe to drive around and see and do some other things. Okay?
Well, let's just make sure it's the intent of the board to allow the Baruckis to put the fence even with where their neighbors are, consistent with the variance granted in 2012. Is that, do we have a consensus on that, and then we can,
I would say
is that what you're saying?
I think that at this point we're saying that we're going to leave it, yes, up to staff and the homeowners to decide where the fence works best for the homeowners and the village and work out a compromise.
Put the fence.
I'm not-
With the
My
fence-
view is you put the fence on the property line, according to the code. And
Well, actually,
with the
according
owner
to-
of the fence accepting the fact that there may be some issues in the future that will damage the fence because we need to maintain that sewer line.
Mhm.
Everybody understands. But fences go on the property line.
Well, in this case, actually, if we were doing it according to code, they wouldn't be having a fence.
True.
So we can't do it according to
There
code.
is that exception that everyone understands.
All right, so we're going to vote on removing the condition and allowing staff and the homeowner to prepare the ordinance, place the fence, and bring it back. You want to just call that motion?
Yeah, I'm still
I'm still confused at what we're,
the intent, though,
Is to take out the condition.
if you take the condition out,
It doesn't say that it has to be on the lot line. It doesn't say that it has to be,
no, it's saying, you're basically
on
telling them they
the-
can put it anywhere they want.
no, I'm saying that staff is going to talk to them in the next 2 weeks, and they're going to work out the correct verbiage. So that it's not directly west of the storm sewer, it's not on the storm sewer? Does it say, I'm not supplying the verbiage right now. Does it say, you know, on the property line? They can add some caveat that they're taking responsibility for us going in? I'm not giving them all this verbiage. I'm saying they got the general gist of it and they'll bring it back to us in 2 weeks.
Staff needs to hear from the board whether you feel that it's okay for the fence to be consistent with the neighbors, even though it would make it more difficult for us to access it. So if the board wants to give that instruction to staff, that would instruct them in the verbiage. The condition can be removed, and when the verbiage comes back, that's the intent that it would reflect, or not. So are you guys okay with them making the fence consistent with the one from the neighbors from 2012, the variance we gave them?
I think
I think staff needs to hear that. Am I correct? That's the direction they need.
But I think that part of the reason why we were leaving it open was in order for staff and the resident to discuss the possibility of boxing out that one little area, and so that they would have the opportunity to look at that, discuss that, see where that would be, to see if that would be a viable, workable option, or if they wanted to remain, you know, consistent to the east with the neighbor. So, I mean, I think that that was still an open thing to look at. I think we wanted to give that option to look at it and discuss it before that was finalized.
Yes.
The boxing out part, okay?
Yes. Okay? You understand?
And
Okay.
so we removed the condition so they could go back and look at all these aspects, discuss them, and then come back to us with the final decision that they make.
You know, I just heard a pretty declarative statement from Mr. Barucki pertaining to the boxing out part. So, do you
Well,
have a change on that, or?
Well, maybe he'll drive around town and look at other ones. We can give him us suggestions of where he can
Right.
go look.
Mr. Barucki?
Okay, this whole process started, I just wanna make sure, if I said I wanted to box it out, are you guys okay in the fence? Because this started with, couldn't have a 5-foot board-on-board fence, so are we good with that? If I box it out, are you guys good with that?
I believe that you're getting nods. Yes.
Okay, so the question is, I'm saying I'd like to just, so if I say I wanna stay on the lot line, stay consistent, my neighbor, we gotta go through a whole, another board meeting, we have to change verbiage and do all that. Is that what you guys are saying we have to do?
The procedure here is that I've made a motion to authorize staff to bring a resolution.
Right.
That has to happen. It's not finalized until that happens. That's just our procedure. The question, so whether you agree to box it out or not, it has to come back in 2 weeks. Though I think if you agree to box it out, you have consensus that we're going to say yes. You could presume that if you don't say yes, you might get consensus, but maybe not, because we have to deal with staff and how would they access that and what responsibility would you take for the fence. So the short answer is if you agree to box it out, it's much easier in terms of just getting this done. We can add that verbiage in, that you will stay consistent except around that small portion around the sewer. You could put little bushes, it wouldn't really look funny.
So if I say I wanna stay in my lot line, you guys can't vote yes or no on it now and we're done with it, or?
Today's motion is to draft an ordinance, so it's not,
It automatically comes back the next week,
Right.
no matter what happens.
yeah, either way, it's gonna go to next week.
You can't have your fence put up until it comes back to us at the next meeting. Though you can hear that there's some discord about what to do. That you saw everyone nod if you box it out. It's your choice. And you can take time over the next 2 weeks, well actually over the next week, and figure out if you can come to an agreement with this to box it out, and then you had a lot of nods.
But that doesn't preclude that it could go through just
With that.
straight.
Right.
Right, you can still come
So
to
you-
that decision.
So So we're not 100% sure it's gonna get okayed even if I box it out, or?
No, I think that you saw nods. If
Yeah.
we want to poll the board, okay, we'll do
Right.
this. Starting with trustee
No.
Meyer. If
You-
he boxed it out, would you vote yes?
Yeah.
I would vote yes either way.
Okay. Trustee Abernathy, if he boxes it out, will you vote yes?
Yes.
Trustee Semple, if he boxes it out, will you vote yes?
Either way.
Okay. Trustee Kim?
Either way.
Trustee Sullivan? Okay, there you have your answer.
So you guys can vote on it now?
No.
No, I
The
heard.
motion to authorize staff to draft a resolution.
Okay,
Right.
my bad, I'm sorry.
I heard
Okay.
several either ways,
Yes.
meaning that they don't have to box it out.
We'd like them to look at the option.
Right, we would prefer that they box it out.
That would be the first
No,
choice.
the majority says it's either way, that they're not required to box it out.
Yes, if they want, they're not required to, but I think, whatever.
No.
We're gonna authorize staff to do this without a condition. Mr. Mayor, I think that we're making this a little bit harder than it needs to be. Could we just call the question?
No, no, one moment. Let's just, I want to get this done now. I don't want it to come back and us to go through all this again.
That's what we have to, we're authorizing
Of course, the
staff.
ordinance, but I don't want to have this discussion again, all over again. We have enough information to make a decision now, and we just,
I thought we just did, we just asked staff to write this without any condition in it. That's a decision.
Yes.
will this affect, will this get the job done that they could then build a fence consistent with their neighbors?
With no, because we're not putting a condition on it.
Yes.
You won't get to that point until the next meeting, when
Right.
you vote on the ordinance.
Right.
But what I heard is several trustees saying they would vote in favor of granting variations, whether it was boxed out or not.
Right.
So that kind of gives staff some direction on how to prepare the ordinance.
Right.
And then when it comes back in 2 weeks and you take a vote, you may or may not be surprised.
There, if we remove the condition in the existing ordinance, Mr. Mayor, then all we're doing is granting a variance for them to put up a fence at their address. And based on the poll,
Okay,
we've given staff direction.
staff has direction, right?
We do.
Okay, very good. Then you proposed to remove the condition, we had a second?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Then we call the motion to remove the condition,
Yes.
correct? Okay. Please call the roll.
Boss?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Okay. So that removed the condition, or now we
Yes.
take another?
No, we're done. It'll come back to us.
I think the direction to staff is clear without another motion.
Okay. Very good. Trustee Voss, anything else?
Yes.
Okay,
Move on?
you may move on.
We have our third annual Mundelein Arts Festival, September 8th and 9th, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. in Krakauer Park. September 7th and 8th. Mundelein One World Festival is Saturday, September 21st, from noon to 5 at the Metro train station. I very much want to apologize to new businesses in town because I got a new business report, which somehow I don't have with me. Do you have a copy? Okay. However, I would like to announce that Mayor Lentz and I attended 2 ribbon cuttings on Friday, one for the Omega restaurant and one for brow threading at 326 Seymour. And it's eyebrow threading, and they do brow and threading and lash extensions and weaves and henna designs. And the mayor and I both had our brows threaded, and some of us cried in pain and some of us didn't, and we'll just let it go at that, and you can guess who did. Also, new to us is, thank you, Maker USA Corporation at 911 East Orchard, which is an import-export business. The Gaming Goat, which is at 618 East Howley Street, is a retail game store, and it's a place where kids can go, I guess kids of any ages can go and play games there. Deck building games, living card games, collectible card games. Fitness Fiesta opened up at 722 South Lake Street. It's a fitness studio that does Zumba fitness classes as well. Though we'd like them to take down their handwritten signs that are on Lake. We welcome them to the community. We have Mini Mart at 507 North Lake Street, a convenience store that's opened. The Look at 703 South Lake Street, threading, facial, and waxing salon. Mr. Mayor, another place you can go for threading if you so choose. Wingstop at 720 South Route 83 has reopened with a new owner. I encourage you all to go get some wings. There is Hanuel Family Alliance at 333 East Route 83. It's a social service agency helping senior citizens in family matters. And we have a new Korean restaurant in town at 358 Town Line Road. And I really think I'm going to mess up the name if you want to help out. Bottom line.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Okay, that makes me feel better.
Hwangdaegam.
Okay.
Korean restaurant.
And that is all for right now.
Great. Okay, thank you, Trustee Voss.
Mm-hmm.
Next, Communications and Marketing, Trustee Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one motion and a couple of items to say. First up here, it says New Village Hall Audio Video Security System, C&M-1. Do I ask the question now or after the motion?
Go ahead and read the motion.
All right. So this is a motion to adopt a resolution waiving the formal bidding process for the installation of an audio-video security system in the new Village Hall building at 300 Plaza Circle, Mundelein, Illinois, and approving and authorizing the execution of 1, an agreement between the village and Sound of Music and Video Systems, and 2, a memorandum of understanding between the village and Weston Solutions Incorporated.
You're making that motion.
Motion by Kim,
Second?
second by Voss. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I had a few people ask, so could you clarify how security system cameras fall under communications and marketing?
Well, this is one contract that encompasses both the security system as well as the audio-visual. There were a lot. There was contracts over $400,000 worth of equipment. And security, I think, is what, a little over 30,000 of that. So the vast majority is the audio and visual aspect. And so, ta-da,
Okay,
under
thank
your
you.
committee report.
Oh, that's okay. It's good. It's good to explain everything. And so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Your discussion?
Just, do we need to explain that a portion of this is for the village and a portion of this is for the second floor for Weston Solutions? And so the memorandum of understanding is that Weston Solutions will pay for their portion of this, so that we don't have residents thinking that the whole amount is on us.
That's right.
Good point.
Nope.
I mean, it's part of the cost of the whole.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you're saying, right?
Mhm.
The cost of the whole thing. Yeah.
But our portion is like 248,000, I
Right.
think. I'd have to look. And the rest of it is the Weston Solutions portion that they'll be paying
Right.
for. That's all.
Okay.
And also to clarify, it says to waive the formal bidding process, but it looks like here that we did have some bids. And so it's not that we skipped a bidding process.
We solicited bids,
We,
right?
yes. All right, that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Anyone else? Clerk, please call the roll.
Kim,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes?
Semple,
Abstain.
Meyer,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Okay, just an update on the hiring process for the manager of marketing and communications. We have made a formal offer, and we're just waiting on background check. Once that comes, we'll have an announcement to make for the village. And there was the first meeting of the branding steering committee. Victor, could you say a few lines about that?
Yeah, the meeting was basically to provide the steering committee with some background information, let them know the steering committee will be the working group throughout this branding process. At this meeting, the committee was presented with some demographic results, some quick survey comments, did a couple of exercises regarding branding exercise. But really, it was just an introductory meeting, kind of laying out the schedule, some of the expectations, some of the goals that are set for the working group, but also talked about some of the upcoming events. And I don't know if you want to talk about the next step or next event.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. One of the surprising findings from their research is that we're actually ahead of some of the villages around us in terms of having the next generation to take over as residents. I'd like to mention, though, that the survey, the last day to take the survey is September 9th. So if you haven't, either go on Facebook and look up Mundelein Branding or email into the village. Is it info@mundelein.org? And ask for the link. Your feedback is very important to us, not only during campaign season. We want to hear your thoughts on the way we're going to brand the entire village. The last day to do that is September 9th. And then on September 17th, we have a community open house at 7 o'clock. Do you remember where?
The location is the police station.
The police station? Okay. And that's going to be the reveal of the results of everyone who's taken the survey and where we're going to go from here. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
And the survey link is on the home page of our website, correct? Right.
That's correct.
Just go to mundelein.org and it's right there, I believe, right there?
It's also on the newsletter.
And the newsletter as well. Yep.
And that meeting, September 17th at the police station, what time?
7 o'clock. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Trustee Abernathy, Transportation and Infrastructure Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the things that's good is these motions are because our village hall is ahead of schedule. So that is a good thing. So I would like to motion to authorize staff to execute a contract with Weston Solutions for design, bid, and construction management services.
Motion by Abernathy.
Second.
Second by Semple. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Trustee Sullivan.
Maybe I should ask our engineer, what is the estimated cost of this Archer Avenue improvement? Is there one?
I'd defer to Rick on that. Rick, do you have that estimate now?
Trying to remember back 2 years. 1 to 5.
No, it was closer to about 500,000. The 1.5, I think, is what Rick's referring to. All of the roads included in with.
Yeah, we.
Right.
Right.
So,
No, we don't know. This was, I mean, I seem to recall it was between 3 and 4, but I mean, that was just preliminary estimates early on. I think if you remember, we did some preliminary engineering for all the streets there and hoping we get good pricing, and we did, and we chose to do the entire Plaza Circle and do all the infrastructure there, and we chose not to do Archer at that time, instead leaving it for next spring.
But this 36,561 is for design, bid supervision,
Anyone else? Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Voss?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And also a motion to authorize a purchase for an amount not to exceed $36,561.44 for said services to Weston Solutions, Inc.
Motion by Abernathy,
Second.
second by Semple. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Voss?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Boucher, anything else? No? Okay, that's all for me, Mr. Mayor.
Very good, thank you, Trustee Abernathy. We come to other reports. Does any other trustee have anything to bring up at this time outside of what we've discussed so far? Okay, very good. That moves us on to the omnibus vote items. We have items A through I. Does any trustee wish to take off any of these items before we vote on the omnibus?
A.
E.
Wait a minute, time out. Just a second. Trustee Meyer wants to pull A.
E.
E is in echo, okay? Trustee Kim wants to pull E is in echo. Anyone else?
Item H, in regard to amending fire department establishment.
Okay. H, Trustee Sullivan. Excuse me, you do want to pull it?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Anyone else? Okay, I need a motion to then pass the omnibus items accepting A, E, and H.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Abernathy, second by Kim.
Wait a minute, you said a motion accepting A?
Accept those.
Oh, accept those.
I'm
okay.
sorry. Accept A and E and H. Okay, discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Voss?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Sullivan? Semple?
Yes.
Motion carries. Trustee Meyer, item A.
Now, I wanted to pull this off because when we were negotiating the group contract with the rental apartments for recycling, at that point, when we added it on to, or extended the residential, I felt that we should have at that point tried to renegotiate the residential rates to see if we could lower those rates from what they were, and we didn't even ask the question. So I object to the rate increase because we did not try last year to reduce the residential rate.
I'll make the motion as submitted, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion to, okay, so we heard from Trustee Meyer. Anyone else want to comment before we entertain the motion to pass this? Trustee Kim? Just a second.
Okay.
Okay. Trustee
Second.
Semple made the motion. Do I have a
Second.
second?
Second.
Second by Abernathy. Discussion.
Okay. Let's see here. I was not on the board when, the contracts went through with the rental properties. I was just wondering, though, one of the benefits of having a single provider service the entire village is the deep discount. So even with this increase, are we still at a really good rate where, other competitors couldn't beat it? Or has it reached a point where, other competitors might?
That's not a straightforward answer. I know Mr. Flynn was heavily involved in that too, but there are things in our contract that we have that others don't have. And so there's trade-offs, like any negotiation, there's trade-offs of things. So we think the pricing that we have is competitive. I wouldn't say it's the cheapest price out there, but our services are better than others. One thing that comes to mind, I recall, is that we still have our, what'd you call it?
Well, we have leaf collection, we have
Leaf
Mundelein
collection,
Community Day that they
and we
can
have
do.
the spring cleanup stuff. So there are things added into the contract that naturally has a cost to them. So I think that we feel that, at least the staff felt that we got a fair price.
The second thing is that on the first page, it says that they should notify the village in writing at least 60 days. But on the second page, it says Groot has provided the required 50-day notice, and I just wanted a clarification of which one is the correct days of notice.
It's a I think it's a 60-day notice.
Okay, and so they've given the required 60 days of notice. Okay. That's all I had.
Okay. Any other discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Semple?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Boss?
Yes.
Meyer?
No.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Kim?
No.
Motion carries. Trustee Kim, item E.
I just had questions to ask on this. This cancels only the board meeting, or does it close the village for that day? I mean, village as in the, this is only for the board meeting.
Correct.
Is it okay to ask why?
Yeah, it's okay to ask.
Okay, I'm newer here, I don't know.
Well, it's December 23rd, it's during the holiday week, and,
But it's technically not a holiday.
One or two of us, I know I'll be gone. I think there was another trustee that believed that said they would be gone, but, we've done this before on that week. And, that's what's being proposed here.
Okay.
So, Trustee Kim, because you are new, it has been canceled before, though usually it's if Christmas or Christmas Eve fall on our board meeting, not because it's the 23rd. I will vote no on this. I think that we're in August, that we can cancel this if going forward we decide that we don't have enough business, that we need to have this meeting. But in the past, we've canceled it on occasion, tried to reschedule a meeting and had difficulty. I think it's silly for us to cancel it this far in advance. It can always be canceled closer to the date if we so choose. And then I also wonder, so if this fell on the 20th, would we feel compelled to cancel it because it's 5 days away? How, just so I get an idea, how close to Christmas do we cancel a meeting for?
I don't know if it's written anywhere.
Right,
I think
it's
we're
not. I
proposing it,
think
we're
that
putting it
we're-
out to you guys, and do you want to cancel the meeting on the 23rd? Yes, a good rhetorical question, where that line is. I'd venture to say if it was on the 20th, we'd probably keep the meeting date. But given that this is on Monday the 23rd, right beforehand, we're putting it out to the board.
And we feel compelled to do it in August. Why?
To plan. I mean, to plan ahead.
Really?
There's no particular reason why it's on tonight. We can push it off till October. It doesn't matter to us. I mean, the board is free to do whatever they want to do. I mean, either, it doesn't matter to staff. The board in the past practice has been that they've canceled this meeting, and it was on our list of things to do. Instead of bringing it up at the last minute, it came up, and I said, put it on the agenda. And so, it's at the board's discretion. Doesn't matter to staff.
Well, I would prefer that we not make this decision now, and so I won't make the motion and I'll vote no on it. And as you say, it is the pleasure of the board, so the rest of the board so chooses. I just think it's too far in advance.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Nope. No.
I'll make the motion.
A second.
Motion by Semple, second by Sullivan. Any other discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Semple?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Boss?
No.
Meyer? Kim?
No.
Abernathy?
I'm going to say no. I think we need more time.
Mayor votes yes. Motion carries. Trustee Sullivan, item H.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item H is an ordinance amending our fire department establishment. And looking at the ordinance, it would seem, and I guess I have the question, what else are we changing other than we're increasing the number of full-time firefighter paramedics from 14 to 15? There are sections that are being deleted and replaced with, but I'm not sure what changes, if any, are substantial in those deletions and the replacement thereof.
I'd start just by saying I thought there was a red line version.
Should have been a red line in
At
there.
our desk.
There's
At our
some-
desk?
No, there was what's in the desk is the difference between.
It's in the packet.
Yeah.
There's something that was, we were distributed red
Oh,
line.
okay, this got dropped on the desk tonight.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, it should have been in the board
what's on
packet.
your desk tonight is not a red line. That's just a simple comparison between what was in the packet and then Charlie's comments that were received after the packet was put together. The red line version, which is really not underlined and marked out version, is in the packet.
Yeah.
In the staple packet. It
Okay.
should be.
Okay, well, going on, we can talk about it. We are increasing full-time firefighter paramedics from 14 to 15. Beyond, in section 1, we describe our command staff as being comprised of, aside from the chief and battalion commanders, lieutenants, 2 deputy chiefs.
Yeah, that's,
All right. Then, under section 3, part A, it says it refers the singular position of deputy
The
chief.
typo. It's a typo error in the edit.
All right. There is created the position of 2 deputy chiefs instead of,
We have that now.
right.
It's just that.
Yeah.
I'll let
That
Mr.
didn't
Leo-
change.
Okay,
That didn't change.
Okay.
That's,
okay, now, is the addition of, from 14 to 15 the result of creating a 40-hour-a-week position for the head of the Fire Prevention Bureau?
No, sir, that actually, this is cleaning up language to show what we're doing now. That was the move when we eliminated one of the contract positions to balance out the shifts earlier this year and hired that firefighter. So that firefighter's on staff
Okay, so,
already.
all right, the difference is that
We're
we've
cleaning
gone
up old language
from
is what we're
7
doing.
to 6 contractual.
Correct.
Correct.
So
Correct.
this is adding the full.
correct.
Right. Again, which is already done. We just had to clean up this language. There were
Right.
so many iterations of this code that it needed to be cleaned up.
Okay, thank you. I'll make the motion to approve this item. Is it D?
Second.
We're at H.
H, I'm sorry, thank you.
Motion by Sullivan,
Second.
second by Semple. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Semple.
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Motion carries. That takes us to staff reports. Mr. Lebedo?
I have no report tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Village Attorney, Mr. Marino.
I have no report, Mr. Mayor, but there will be a need for executive session regarding the acquisition of and also consideration of the release of certain executive session minutes.
Very good. Thank you. Village Clerk?
No report.
No report tonight. Okay, that takes us to final other business. I have 2 items. First, need to call a meeting so that we can go over the sign. This will be a committee of the whole meeting on September 23rd. Okay? And that will be at 6 o'clock in the room across the hall, committee of the whole meeting, September 23rd, for the purpose of going over the sign ordinance again. Finally, I just want to reiterate on the previous concern about the December 23rd, if we come down to the second meeting in November and it's looking like we have a lot of business, and we have to have a meeting then, I'll be sensitive to that, and staff will too, that if we need to call that meeting, then we certainly will at that time. So it's flexible, and we'll just be sensitive and aware of the need at that time. So it kind of goes both ways. We could have canceled it later, but we can also be aware and, bring it back if we need to.
And perhaps next year, we might want to consider waiting to cancel it.
Okay. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
No.
No?
We have to
Oh,
recess
excuse
into
me, you're right.
executive session.
We're going to recess into executive session, so I need a motion to recess into executive session.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Voss, second by Kim. All
Four.
for the purpose of
Land acquisition. Land acquisition, 5 ILCS 120, and minutes pursuant to 5 ILCS Section 2C21.
All right. So I'll need a motion to recess into executive session to discuss pending, you just made the motion.
Yeah.
Motion by
we're done.
Voss.
No, it's, yes. Seconded by Kim. You
All
want
in
to call
favor?
that vote?
All in favor, or,
Aye.
voice
Yes.
vote.
However you want to do it. Yeah,
Let's take the roll.
We
Take the
stay
roll,
here.
please.
Okay, Voss?
Yes.
Kim? Semple?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Abernathy.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Yes.
See ya.
Motion carries.
Can we take 5 minutes before we start
Take
this?
5
exec-